everybody. We are back for another great episode of More Than the Title. I'm your host, Jared Thomas. As usual, we have a special guest today, a special episode for you guys. So this brother right here is a good friend of mine. We work very closely together, but he has 15 years of experience in the industry, specifically in the sports and entertainment industry, worked at places like Mohegan Sun, WWE, and currently is the director of social media for Hard Rock International. Shout out to the AC team over there. I'm coming to see you guys next week. But my good friend, Justin Leslie, how are you, brother?
Good, my man. Just enjoying this rainy weather out here in Miami, but I'm happy to hop on, talk with you, man. I'm looking forward to it. Give you a little insight on my career and some of the, mistakes I've made and some of the success I've had.
That's it, man. That's what it's about. So for anybody who's just listening, so for all the first-time listeners, this is what the premise of the show is, right? So it's more than a title, and what I wanted to start the show is to give people another show other than the same old marketing tips and tricks, right? If it's SEO, you're talking about Python and JavaScript. If you're talking about digital marketing, you're talking about attribution and this and that. And everybody's an expert nowadays. But I'm a firm believer that there's more lessons in the stories that you tell, right? Like, so we've had conversations with CEOs who've slept in their cars for 4 or 5 months in order to bootstrap and get their business off the ground, right? That resilience and that, perseverance, those stories is what really resonates with me and I love to hear. So, and that's where we came up with the show, man. So it's an honor to have you on, brother. And if you want, man, let's start at the top, man. Let's get to know a little bit more about you, brother. So how did you get in the industry, and tell us a little bit about your early start?
Yeah. So I I worked at Mohegan Sun in college. So I was like a server. I was a host. I worked at the Wolf Den, which was like free entertainment. So I got to see all the old school acts come in for no admission, and just kind of like I started falling in love with music at an early age. Worked my way through college there, and then networked. I saw an opening for an internship in advertising and PR. I took that internship. That was probably about a year before I graduated. And then once I graduated, things fell into place. I saw an opening in corporate public relations. Took a job right out of college. I had a month off, but knock on wood, I was very blessed that happened for me. And then I learned corporate PR, gaming PR, and then I did that roughly for about 4 years, and then I got to see the ins and outs of the publicist of the arena there. So the arena at Mohegan Sun, 10,000 seat arena, one of the top 5, rated by Billboard in the world.
Yeah. So
I was kind of, looking at my chops, be like, hey, maybe this position opens up one day. And sure then enough, he ended up leaving, and I went for the interview. I grew with the company. They saw my dedication, and I got right into it. And then it was working with artists from all over the world. You name it, I've seen them. I have a whole wall of credentials that I kind of saved. Just so, because I'm getting old now, I got to remember, I saw it on my stuff.
You're getting old, bro.
Yeah, and PR, and through college, my goals, I always wanted to be a publicist. Like, that was it. My mom is a huge, God bless her, she loves celebrities. So growing up watching, like, Entertainment Tonight, that was kind of what I was, raised on. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to be a publicist. So I accomplished that at the age of 25. So I'm already at a good start, right?
Yeah.
And it was great. Writing press releases, doing escorts for photographers, videographers, doing property tours, getting to know the journalists. It's kind of like just now I did corporate PR. Now I'm in gaming. and I'm in entertainment. And then social media took off. That was about when I was 25, 27 years old. That's when it started booming. And so we were kind of thinking, how could I use my skills as a publicist to get Mohegan Sun some social love? So then we started doing interviews. So one of the first shout out videos I got was Kevin Hart. And I mean, that was one of the first ones. And it was New Year's Eve. He did a stand up at the arena on New Year's Eve. And, I got him. Kevin was having a little bit of fun. So he was feeling a little, I don't know if he was drinking a little bit, but he was good. And video was great. And that was a big get for me. And then we got others, Sean Kingston, the Wahlbergs when they'd come in. It was just great using that connection and getting us content. And that's how I got into the industry. And then lo and behold, WWE opens up. Boom, I slide right in there. I did that for 7 years. And the stories alone and that And that trip was just amazing.
I would love to hear the WWE stories, man. And I'm very curious. So, like, I know you said the entertainment tonight, and like the PR is a natural transition to social. So I totally get that, right? But like, where did that passion come from, though? To be a PR, like aside from it, like, was there anything else aside from that that's like, man, this is what I'm passionate about? Where did that come from?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit. The social media aspect or the PR?
Or the PR, because you came in,
Yeah.
So what I loved about your story is that you came in, you was in college, and you was wearing multiple hats, like us all, man. I was a waiter too when I was, you know what I mean, right out of high school. I was a waiter. I was serving coffee. I was a barista. I was working at Dallas BBQ, smelling like ribs. It was craziness, right?
Yeah.
And then I transitioned into sales. But like, what made you like? I accidentally bumped into sales. So that's why I'm curious. Like, was it an accident or was it something that you planned? And if it was something planned, like, where was the passion that came from that?
So my grandfather was he was in advertising, so that's why I did go to school for advertising and PR, advertising and communications, what have you. But I had my mentor, Ken Warren at Southern Connecticut State University. He was just like a teacher. He was a publicist as well, has his own PR company, and that's where I fell in love with it. He taught his style of teaching. Either you hated him or you loved him. There was no in-betweens. People I've seen cry in class, but it was just this style, and he was a straight shooter, didn't cut any crap. And I don't say I was one of his favorite students, but I know I was pretty up much. I was up there a little bit. And it got me into public speaking, and then I still would go back and even to this day go back to his class and speak to his students. But he's a big reason why I got into PR. And the transition to social media, I think, is very easy. In public relations, you're telling stories, and in social media, doing the same thing. And I think that's kind of, where I transitioned to social media for PR, is I now have the ability to use it because it could be bad, but it could be very good. And telling stories and, like right now, like at WWE, a lot of the events we worked on, Susan G. Komen, how showing the wrestlers and the fans and the interactions. That was some of the best work I think I did there. And, Be a Star rallies, anti-bullying. That was kind of a lot of the good content I did there was from those events, and bringing that to Hard Rock and being able to tell stories here with our employees and the work we do around the world, I think is something I think transition easy from there.
That's amazing, brother. And we'll go into the WWE. And I just wonder, what is the one, you have one story from Mohegan Sun as far as an event or something that you was doing that was really, really stressful for you, but you end up turning out better than you expected. Did you have one of those? How did you persevere?
I persevere. Bad story at Mohegan. I made some mistakes at Mohegan. I did make one, and there wasn't no escaping it. I just had to bite the bullet. We were opening a poker room there, and I was a specialist, and we had some reporters come in and kind of act like a poker student for the day. And my boss left early, which, I don't know why. He trusted me, right? And then I allowed some information on some certain rates that weren't allowed to go out. And then I'm sweating, and I'm just like calling the reporters, and like I'm just like, oh, like, hey man, can you not run that? And they're like, oh, I gotta do our job, and it's like, I'm just reading because that happened on a Friday. So all weekend I'm looking at the newspapers, and like I'm like going on my phone. I'm like, oh cool, they didn't run it. Oh cool, they didn't run it. Sunday, oh they ran it, in the biggest day of the week, Sunday. So yeah, luckily I persevered after that. I earned the trust back. Ended up not being as terrible as I thought. But yeah, that was kind of the worst thing that happened at Mohegan. And then I don't know if you have celebrity stories. Just making sure we get like I remember. Okay, so we had Jay-Z there, and in the pre-show meeting, I find out Beyonce's gonna be in attendance at Kim Kardashian. So I'm like, oh cool, so I go to like one of our team members, and like, I don't know how if PR works, but like it's how you get news clips, what have you.
Yeah.
But I got one of the team members. I'm like, hey, Beyonce and Kim Kardashian are here tonight. And then I turn right behind me, and it's the security, like the head of security, and he's like, what? And I'm like, oh no, she's on my team. He's like, yeah, so tell anybody that. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm just sweating, all right, what happened again, sir? Sorry. Yeah, that was that was another.
I could imagine that was a cool story, man. I could have just meeting all those celebrities, right? And just being in the same rooms with them, having those conversations. Like I had a similar situation like that when I worked at Con. You know what I mean? So when you're meeting stars and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm in the same room right now. So, and actually, you brought up Kevin Hart was really cool. Kevin Hart was the last office I went to before the pandemic. So he's the last client I went to go visit right before the pandemic. And it was a crazy story, man. Like basically, I'll give you the quick rundown and it's kind of goes into how you persevere. So I just got at the agency. I never told this. I've got a meeting. I knew the VP. I knew the CEO, right? So I knew from a prior business dealings or whatever, just happen to reach out to him. You go through your book of business. Hey man, what's up? I'm at the SEO, whatever. Oh, I happen to need it. Okay. I'm like, yeah, I got one. So I'm so happy. I'm like, got the CEO of Laugh Out Loud, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm killing it. Told my founder and all that stuff. And he sends me an invitation, right? A calendar invite, but it had the address of the location. So I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to Cali. I told my boss, I said, I don't care if you pay for it or not. I'm going to Cali. Like he just invited me. That's my boy. That's my bro. Yeah. And long story short, he pays for the trip. We get in there, Super Bowl weekend, man. Someone told me to reach out just to confirm on Friday night. So I'm like, hey man, just letting you know, man, we're already booked, man. We'll see you over there at 12 o'clock. Just let me know if I need anything to get in the building. Get in the building? This is a virtual call, Jared. I said, what? Oh. It's a virtual call. Oh. So, man, this is like my second or third week at the job. And I'm up sweating bullets, just like you. Oh, my. I'm like, I don't care who's scoring. I'm sitting there emailing them back and forth. He CC'd somebody else on the team. Can we make it work? And I just have to keep it real. Like, guys, my job depends on this. I'm going out there, and I got to see somebody. I'll see the janitor. I don't care who I see, but I have to come to this office. Long story short, I had to tell my boss. We get on the plane. We see Spike Lee on the plane, which was crazy. Never seen him. We land there. As soon as we land, my boss won't even look at me. I get the text. Come in. 20 minutes from the meeting. We're all the way in LAX. We made it there 2 minutes before, man. And we ended up being in his office, getting a tour, and it actually was a successful meeting, bro. That was the craziest, but I know what you meant, but I could have easily folded in that moment and been like, right. You know what I mean? But like, same way with you, man. I'm like, nah, man, I got to man up. I messed up. No, you're man. Jeez. Crazy stories, man. For the celebrity, man. I saw it would have been anybody else. It'd have been, Mr. Klein in Nebraska. Right. Like Laugh Out Loud in art. I'm going, man. But love the transition too, man, to WWE, man, because I am a wrestling, avid fan. Love wrestling. My kids into wrestling, all that good stuff, man. What was the interview process like, and like what was that experience like when you first got?
So the team was relatively new. There was only one social media. Well, there was a team on at the desk, but they needed a road team. They were pushing now. They wanted live event content. So I had roughly 3 interviews. That's how the interviews went. And I was big into Attitude Era, but I stopped watching a little. Once I went to college, girls came along. I stopped. I stopped watching. Yeah. So what I did was I rented the video game and just studied the wrestlers, their music, their moves. Started watching, and you start getting into it again. You pick up where you left off as a kid. And in the interview process, it was good. I had a big portfolio of all the stuff I did at Mohegan, so I showed them news clips, celebrities I worked with. So I'm a very visual person, so I like to put it right in front of them, see the reactions. And so I met with the team the first interview. Second interview, I met with the VP, and then I met with SVP. And I was on my way home from Stanford to Norwich, Connecticut, and they said, "Hey, you got the job." Pulled over the side of the road, celebrated a little bit, got back on the highway again. Sat in 95 for 3 hours.
There you go. Man, that's where the headquarters is. Everybody don't know. East Coast. So Stanford is where the WWE headquarters is. So I can imagine how that felt. And so what was it like? So it was an early team, right? So like, what goes into when you're building, especially for a legacy in a big brand like WWE, right? Like, so what was your mindset going into that role? And, what were some of the things that you were like, you wanted to implement immediately? Yeah. So this was a, new position. So we kind of had room marching forever because we're the first ones to ever do it. We had a social media manager that worked for all SmackDown. And then he hired myself and still good friends to this day, Nick Samponia, who's actually director over there now for social media. We were the road producers. So he would get a brand and I would get a brand. So he would do, let's say, Raw. So he'd go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
back on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That was his schedule. I had SmackDown a little easier, so I do it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off a little bit, go back in the office, and go back. So that was our schedule. So we're traveling just like the wrestlers. So we're hopping on a plane, going straight to a hotel, and then you're getting a rental car. You go to the arena, you leave into the next city, and you do that like every week. So there was kind of like somewhat built-in respect between our squad, our road team, and then I think the talent, because I mean we did the same travel schedule as them. We weren't taking bumps every night, but we did we could relate to them, and that's how you got a feel for it. You could see, I think one of my strengths is interpersonal communication, and seeing when a person's approachable to get content. I think I could read a person really well. Like if I'm like, I'm not gonna get it from Randy tonight. I know Randy Orton's not gonna. No, it's not the night to do that. So what I brought to the table and what I wanted to bring is capturing fan reactions, video on the ground, posting it live. And back when I started, 9 years ago, it was all cell phone. We ended up, going up to DSLRs, the cameras, and the heavy lens. That's where they're at now, and it's crazy to see. We went from a team of 2, and I believe there's 5 guys there now. And what happened in my journey there is I was working in Connecticut, flying out, and I saw NXT take off, and that was like development. And I was going down once a week for the tapings, and I told my boss, I was like, why don't you just move me down there? And he thought about it. I kept bugging him, and eventually they moved me down to Orlando, where I became the manager of NXT. So that essentially is programming these superstars to be social media experts, or social media responsible. So when they go to the roster, they don't need to be taught. They know how to speak to fans. They know how to promote shows. They know how to talk about, talk smack with others, superstars. So they're trained. So and it's almost like being like a teacher or whatever. They graduate, they go up, you're like, oh, I miss that guy. I don't see him as much as I used to. And I love doing that. And that's the ability to pass along knowledge, being a resource to these guys, earning their respect, and traveling the world with them too. NXT went on the road, and I was back. I thought I got lucky for a little bit. I was just in Orlando, and then like, nah, we're going on the road too. So I did that for 5 years, which I love. And then, unfortunately, COVID struck, and I was furloughed. And then, like a lot of people around the country, I had to take some time off and look for a position, but then my position was eliminated. So what can you do there? A lot of businesses did it, and no hard feelings. I got much love and still talk to all my old colleagues at WWE.
Yeah, man. Shout out to WWE, man. And shout out to you, man, for the travel. What the hell?
Bro, it's crazy. I've been to Australia, Saudi Arabia. I say I live there. I was there for 2 weeks, but it might as well be felt like I live there. Saudi Arabia, Australia, the UK. I managed the NXT UK brand. So I was going to the UK every month for at least 3 days, flying back and then doing a road loop here in the US. So, I earned these bags. But I earned these.
I feel you, man. That's amazing, man. Out of all the wrestlers that you worked with and interacted with, and that you especially gave the trainings to, who would you say implemented it the best? Who do you think had the best social media profile out of the wrestlers that you worked with, and why?
Becky Lynch is really good. Becky Lynch is really good at riling up people. You almost know, like, hey, is she shooting on this person? Like, she's really good at it. Alexa Bliss, very good. I think Liv Morgan now, she's doing really well with her social media. She did it good, as in when she wasn't on TV, she was making herself still in the conversation. So she was very good in that aspect, and just constantly building a fan base and putting herself out there, even necessarily she wasn't out there. Now she's one of the biggest stars on TV right now.
Yep, insane, man. And I've got to ask this, man. You ever interacted with Vince?
Oh yes, so I worked on Tough Enough. So that I was dealing with Vince a lot. Shooting photos of him on the set, going through Gorilla, making sure I got coverage from, the cast members, but the talent that was on the show. Yeah. But yeah, Vince, very intimidating man, very firm handshake.
I can imagine.
But always said hello, always friendly.
Yeah,
You
man.
always hear some stories about him, but I always nothing. He was always kind to me when I had our interactions.
That dude is the master marketer. And
Yes.
what, you know what I mean? And how he built that brand and developed that brand, especially in the early 90 days. Like, I would love to know from that dude, like, identifying talent is the hardest part. And then
Yeah.
creating the story behind the talent is what made them the stars. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So coming up with that storytelling, what the process is like, and like for the wrestlers, right? What if I didn't like that story, right? You know what I mean? I want to go to
Yeah.
another story and just being able to buy in across the board. So many different things have to go right in order for somebody to be, to take off and go to the moon like The Rock, the Stone Colds, you know what I mean? It really changed the game. So that's amazing. And for that dude to be 50 years old, was still suplexing people.
Dude, he took a bump like a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah, he's insane. He's in insane shape for his age, and I don't think he ever misses a day of work. He's always working. So I think that's what keeps him going. That's kind of like his whatever that was, one of those cryotic chambers or whatever you call them. I think that's like, I think work is that for him.
Yeah, man. That's insane.
Yeah.
I'm curious for you too, man. So you said, like, he's always working and things like that, man. What's next for you, man? What do you get excited about in terms of like the industry, the space, especially where you're at right now? Like, what's something that keeps you up, man, and gets you excited?
So yeah, here I have the fortunate ability to do, like I said before, tell stories. So right now we have Pride Month going on. So a lot of the stuff you'll see what we're putting out is talking to our LGBT employees that work in the cafes throughout the world, putting together packages like that. We have Founders Day coming up, which is our company birthday. So it's every activation putting kind of some little sauce on it, and then kind of bringing a new approach. I'm fortunate enough too to have a boss and a team here that gives me a lot of creative freedom. I'm not micromanaged, and I have a great team around me to almost kind of do what I can to make the brand, tell the story, like I said before, and then sell an experience. It's not just food or, hotels, what have you. It's an experience. It's a feeling when you go to Hard Rock, and how do you convey that on social media? And what keeps me going is, and social media space, like the platforms are evolving, they're changing. So it's kind of staying on top of it and, using your powers for good. And I'm excited to see what's next. And if I can be an investor in it, because I would like to, get some of that money. But
that's where I'm trying to go to too, brother. So so what do you think about the Web 3.0 era? Because I talked to a few different guests about this, right? So where do you see that evolving, right? And what do you think is the investment point, like in terms of like, what are the opportunities for Web 3.0 for people like you and I?
I mean, like kind of, what do you mean? Like where it's headed, where it's going?
Like where it's headed, and like you said, like investment opportunities and like new tech and things like that. Like for me personally, I can start just to give you context, right? It's going to be the creator, right? And whoever builds the community, right? And that's what it's all going to be about, experience, right? So even then in sales, I tell people this all the time. I scream this to the mountains, but nobody listens sometimes. But it's like the buyer journey has changed. The same way we used to communicate with our buyers back in 2012, like, you're not going to pick up a damn cold call, Justin, I'm pretty sure. And if you do, it's got to be really damn good, you know what I mean, for somebody to get your attention. So
and that's what you're seeing, a lot of use of influencers paid, like that's the kind of thing I find challenging too. Is that a good thing for brands? Is that a bad thing for brands? Like paying paid influencers? Like I always ask myself that question when I come up with an activation. Are we selling our souls to make the? Because like for real, it's like some kids now, like they see that as a career opportunity. School's been kind of stuck in question now. A lot of them can be like, hey, I can go grow my Instagram, TikTok audience, and I don't even have to go to college. And I see, and that's it. That's a lot of people. E-commerce is driven by them. That Kardashians weren't born overnight. They've built an empire through all their social media. It's insane.
But that's the key, man. So me, like, I'm kind of wary of influencer marketing, but I definitely understand the power of it. But anybody who has the power to have a cultivated community and to have them make actions,
right?
That's the key. Like anybody can have followers, right? But if I can put up something and say Hard Rock is doing XYZ or whoever is doing XYZ, and then somebody goes in and actually purchases, and others be able to attract that. But that's the problem, and that's where the dark social stuff comes into play, because you're never really gonna have a true accurate number of what the impact was, right? Because I might see the ad, didn't click on it. I came in, still had me a burger. You know, I went in to the table, put $200-$300 on. How do you know what I mean? So it's like this value to it, but what is the value? How do you put the value on that?
Yes, exactly. So that's what I kind of do anytime I'm looking at that, is looking at, you know, the engagements, the communication. Because I mean, yeah, the likes, that's great and all. You know, anyone can go by, but how is that content sticking in that person's brain? Are they commenting on it? You know, that's it. I think, you know, you got to have people commenting, engaging, and that's what I look for. I can have a campaign that reaches millions of people, but how many engagements does that have? You know, like how many impressions? Like how do I gauge? How do I make that a conversion? How do I sell that to my boss on this campaign that I get all this money for? Well, how can I turn that into like a tangible number? You know, that's what you're looking at.
That's the name of the game. And that's something too. I would be curious for you. Like, so for instance, when you have these big campaigns or you have an idea to come up with some massive creative for whatever promotion that you're going, how do you get executive buy-in on your vision, right? Because I hear that a lot from social media managers, and I would love to hear your take on that, bro.
So, you know, I always come up with a storyboard for every campaign I have. Have a storyboard. So the campaign I worked on recently is the Messi burger. So, and that's like, that's Leo Messi, one of the biggest stars in the world, right? So it's kind of selling them on, all right, here's an IG filter we want to use. Here's the reason why this is why we want to do it. You know, here's the money behind it. Yes or no. And that's really how the process goes. I mean, it's presenting the ideas, and if I can come up with a good reason and a good number, you know, usually I get the green light, and that's how it's gone. So with Messi, you know, we've had billboards all across the world. We've had influencers come in and just try the burger. We one of our first events we did back in May, we used like 4 or 5 influencers. We brought them in and had them make the burger in our cafe. And it was having them try it. And then we had them bank all the content. So when we released it globally, boom, they throw it all out at once. And it was really cool.
Makes sense.
And we actually, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I could imagine you saw a ton of lift if you all simultaneously, you know, activated the campaign. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then we worked with this company. It's called Influer. Are you familiar with it? It's like brand new. It's a startup. They're all women owned. And it's an app. It's like Uber for influencers. So you can go in, I swear, you can go in and see like, oh, this person, you know, this is the content they've done. I could put out a project, and then they come and like, we'll be like, oh yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this. Here's how much it would be. Like, it's insane. Yeah.
That's the crazy part. But like, even with that, it's kind of like the NFT shit. And I was talking about this to another guest too, right? Like the value, I would love to learn more about the business of that, because who determines the value of that moment? That's what the NFTs is, right? So if I take a picture of, you know what I mean, Steph Curry hit a 3 last night in the third quarter in 3 minutes, right? Or Gary Vee, he scribbles a little damn message on a piece of paper, sells it for $3,000, right? But if I scribble some shit, it's worthless. So who determines the real value of it? And it's kind of similar to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I'm an influencer with 15,000 followers, I don't want to overcharge you, but I damn sure don't want to undercharge you. So how would I that number?
Yeah.
I mean, on the cloud, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just go, all right, let's make a smart decision here. But yeah, it's a tough industry. I think we're still learning a lot more about it, you know, about how to gauge, you know, content for influencers and pricing and all that stuff. I think you're still learning, and it's still going to evolve, you know, because it's going to be saturated. The prices go down, then they go up. Will each one platform get more than the other? Why? It's a whole nother world. It's a whole nother world, and I'm glad I'm not in charge of it.
That's what I'm saying. It's a whole lot of variables, but then it's the same thing, similar to, you know, to me in a conversation me and you have offline, right? Just right.
Yeah.
The influence and the personal branding stuff, right? So what is there is really no difference, right? So that's what I struggle with. And shout out to my team, because I love my team. This is not specific or anything like that. This is just for anybody who's developing a personal brand, right? You are technically an influencer. Everybody is an influencer, right? If I tell, you know, my friends that, you know, Jurassic Park, the new one was fire, and I saw it with my kid, my friends who know me personally are going to I'm going to take the kids and go see it. Jay said it was cool, right? So that's influence. But then you're just scaling that, right? Same thing with personal branding. So I struggle with, you're with the company, you paid for a certain service, right? But personal brand is not part of the JD. how do you determine the value of what you do? And it's only going to get bigger as time grows, right? So it's like from the brand standpoint, how do they retain and keep somebody? Let's say, you know, somebody starts on your team and they end up growing to 1 million followers. Like, how the hell do you retain that person?
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, that's a good thing. That's a good question, because you see that with a lot of campaigns. People will have like, that's something I'm closely monitoring too right now. Even what we're doing with Messi, how many are we retaining? You know, like how many is that coming? Because we're going to get an influx, but I want to see, you know, how many people we're keeping and how do we keep them? You know, how do I relate to this new audience of football fans? How do I do that? Now we hop into Pride Month. I mean, we got so many things going on. We just did a big Messi launch. We're going to Pride Month, and then we go into our birthday, and then we go into BST. And not to mention, we just did F1. So we got racing followers. We got all these people, you know, now that we've been exposed to with partnerships. How do we keep them all? And then how do we entertain them? You know, that's the challenge. And it's a fun challenge. Yeah, it is. And F1 was crazy. I mean, that was a 3-day weekend. That was a blast. That was my second time doing one of those events. We did one with WWE, but just to see how that's taking off now, like the Netflix show. And then, you know, like the different, you know, car companies competing against each other. The celebrities they bring in is quite impressive. Like they had Bad Bunny there. It was like almost Bad Rabbit. Bad Bunny. You know, they had the Kardashians, they had all these like crazy celebrities, and it was pretty impressive to see the track they put up and then all the VIP areas. Because it's like you're not even like Tom Brady and everybody's there. It's like they're almost there for clout. I mean, at that point,
that's what it is. But that's what all this stuff is. To be honest with you, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, you get that clout, and that's what the power is, and that's what it is. Once again, the clout is the person who has the power that makes the person do the action. And that's what you kind of want. And you associate yourself with those people so they can say, oh, wow, he must be lit. It is like, I tell people all, like, I'm not a cloud chaser, but personally, I do this shit for relationships. Like, I don't care about cloud. I don't care about any of that shit. Like, I love the conversations we have offline, right? And all that other stuff, right? But it's like, if you don't know me from a hole in the wall and you see me talking to yourself, you see me talking to CEO of Title, it's like the restaurant. You never tried their food, but there's a line all the way down the door and out the block. You're going to assume the food is fucking good, maybe. Yeah. And I might go there on Wednesday with my date or whatever. You know? Yeah. And it's the same thing. Same thing with B2B, same thing with all that stuff. So I'm very curious to see how this thing evolves, man. Like the personal branding, the influencer marketing, how experiential AR and all that stuff, like the metaverse, on that stuff. I
was going to ask you that. That is something that's going to be obviously evolving, and it's relatively new, and we're learning a lot about it. But being like, is that a good thing? Like, you'd be an avatar and like you can experience things. I mean, I think it would be good. Possibly e-commerce could probably insert themselves in there and do some good things. Yeah. But yeah, how does it evolve? How's it? You know, who's going to be the big dog in that industry? Because everyone's trying to get a piece right now, and I'm interested to see where that goes and how. And then once it takes off, how do we take advantage of it from a brand? How do we do it? Yeah. That's it. So it's definitely something to tune in on.
Yeah, man. So I get the AR for e-commerce makes sense, right? So you buy a pair of Ray-Bans or, you know, some augmented reality. You walk past Macy's, there's a shirt on sale. Hey, do you like this? A polo Ralph Lauren.
Yeah.
Well, then that is. Do you want to purchase? Add to cart. Right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's where the experience is going to be, right? But then, like for others, it's just the avatar shit and the metaverse shit I don't really get. I get it, but I don't get it. How they could be multiple metaverses. So, for instance, if I'm Wendy's and I have a metaverse and they're doing virtual orders and stuff like that, like, am I eating the burger virtually and they sending the shit to my house? Like, I'm still kind of, you know, blurry on that aspect. But like,
have you done it?
I'm trying.
So we did one a webinar actually. And we had the webinar as our avatars. It was super weird, and it makes you very uncomfortable. I was like, I don't know if I like this.
Oh man, I've heard so many stories. I don't even know if I should stay in here, but man, anything's off limits, right? But you heard that story in the metaverse about it was like, I forgot what it was, but it was basically like a lady was virtually gang raped or something like that in the metaverse. I'm like, how does that happen?
No, yeah.
So that's my concern is what is going to be, you know what I mean? What is off limits? What is off limits? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're able to do some shit like that, can you get somebody in the metaverse? What happens if you do?
Well, I mean, I didn't play Call I played Call of Duty like back in the day, and the things I heard on there, I can't imagine what would happen at
Oh,
Meta.
it's the
Some
kids, man.
brutal,
The
some brutal
11-year-old
things.
from, from
Yeesh.
Pennsylvania won't let me load up. Fucking killing
Yeah,
me, calling me all
yeah,
types of shit, and I'm sitting there
yeah.
2 o'clock in the
Not a,
morning, pissed off.
yeah, makes you question parenting. And it's like, where'd you grow up, kid? Where'd you grow up?
That's it, man. That's it, man. So that's crazy that you did that, man. I know I don't want to keep you longer, man. I feel like I could talk to you for so much, Jess, man. So, man, so tell us a little bit more about like personally, man. What do you do for fun?
Personally, do for fun. I got a dog. I got a COVID puppy, so he takes up a lot of my time now. His name's Gravy. He's a cockapoo. So yeah, it's just me and him. He's only one, so I do a lot of things with him. I got into cooking a little bit, so I've been, cooking up some dishes. Basically, anything with a recipe online, I feel like confident I can do it.
Shout
Gem,
out to YouTube,
yeah, for real. I work out a lot, trying to stay active. The 9 to 5 is a little more, harder. Whereas, WWE, I think I was in the best shape of my life during COVID. I was like working out 2 times a week. 2 times a day. I was doing boxing classes. I was pretty fit. But going back into 9 to 5, that's pretty. Like I said, I didn't do it for 7 years. I kind of just on the road, and but 9 to 5 is tough. Do I want to wake up at 5 a.m., get a workout in, go to work, come home? It's tough. Do I do it after work, before work? But you definitely have to have some aspect of that in your life or your lifestyle, or you're gonna just go insane. Like I just need that type of, I need those endorphins rushing.
Yeah,
but I do that. I'm a huge sports fan, so like we were talking offline. Rangers, Mets, Cowboys, Knicks, very troubling franchises that test my patience. And I'm doing their best at my hairline. But it's character development, I like to say. Yeah. Character development.
Got the Stephen A going.
Yeah. Yep. Sports and then shows. I watch like all the popular Netflix shows I've seen. I follow. Right now I'm watching The Boys, which is pretty wild. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen. I didn't see it yet, but I've seen it pop up. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, that's it. It's pretty much easy. Yeah, and then work, and then just laid back. That's it. I got my one bedroom apartment in Hollywood now, so it's my little bachelor pad, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, just hanging out, enjoying life.
Love it, bro. And I'm gonna ask you something too, man. As far as what does the next 10 years look like for you? What does success? How do you define success in your career?
So I don't know if it's your stereotypical answer, but being happy. I don't think I would be doing what I've done if I wasn't happy. I mean, every position I've been in, I've been fortunate to love it and grow with it. You see for my resume, I was at William & Son 9 years, WWE 7.5, 8 years, and then here almost a year. So I would like to, keep that pattern going. I'm not a quitter. I don't like to keep, if I'm not happy, I will change my path. But right now, being where I'm at, I'm very fortunate, and just keep working with this brand and see where I can get it. I want to bring it as far as I could take it, and whoever takes it over next, I want to put them in a good position. That's where I want to be. That's where I want to go, is just bring Hard Rock to another level, and being able to. So another goal I have is at WWE, we won a lot of Webbies. As a team won Webbies, the company won like almost every year. But here we haven't had one yet. And I'd love to bring that home this year. That's one of my short-term goals. Because my vice president, Elaine Alvarez, she's very loyal to me, so I'll be loyal to her and bring her something that she can put up on her shelf. So that'd be cool.
There you go. That's what's up, man. You're going to get it, and you're going to do great things, brother. I'm sure. First of all, they're lucky to have you. And I'm lucky to meet you, brother. Like seriously, and our interactions online, offline, man. I think you're a real guy, man. You're a good dude, and it's just a pleasure to work with you, brother. So like, I appreciate you taking the time out your day, man, to come rock Absolutely. With me, man. It's just always a pleasure, man. Seriously.
Yeah, and before I go, I have one good funny story I wrote down. I make sure I want to tell it.
All right, let's do it. Man.
This is back in WWE. We were on a road loop, and it was myself, Titus O'Neil, and Darren Young. We had like a big Escalade we were driving. So I'm the driver. So they're arrested. They're beat up in the back seat. So we're going city to city. I think we were in Laredo, Texas, and then we hit up a Whataburger. So then Mark gets out. He goes inside. And then I'm getting out of the car, stretching, whatever. And then Mark comes out with a bag and a cup. And then I'm like, huh, all right. I'm like, let's bag it up. So, hey, Mark, what'd you get to drink there? And he's like, drink. He's like, it's ketchup, dog. And he got this large thing of ketchup. He just takes a fistful of fries, dumps it in the cup, down in this car. It was the most savage thing you've seen from the world's strongest man. I thought that was a funny story to share with you. Just, you never judge a book by its cover. You never know what's in that cup.
Never know, man. I love it, man. I could imagine. I know you've got stories for days, bro. I wish I could share sales stories with you, man. It's crazy especially how I got into the industry and things like that, man.
Yeah.
It was insane, man. Like,
well, we'll have to do it again.
For sure, man. Anytime, you always have an invite, brother. It's always love, man. I'm probably gonna text you tonight if we end up losing this game. I'm gonna be pissed off.
Absolutely. Yeah. Regardless, we'll be celebrating or crying. We'll be good.
That's it. Either or, man. So thank you again, my brother. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you for everybody who continues to tune in. Thank you for the love, the support. You guys keep me going. It's not hard to do these things after a long 9-to-5 day, picking up the kids and doing everything. But you guys really keep me going, and I really appreciate all the love. Next week, we actually have 2 last episodes. We have Tuesday, June 14th. CEO of Hootsuite, Tom Kaiser, is going to come in and join us. So we're going to have a real conversation with him, learn about his background. And then on the 16th, which is my birthday and the last day of the podcast, is we have Stephen Schmidt, who's the CEO of Title, coming in, and we're going to talk about the future of sales, how he built up Title, how he came up with the idea, and what's the future for Title. So some exciting ones. Thanks for the love. And Justin, my brother, thank you for everything, man. I know I'm going to check you out. And thanks for everybody for tuning in for another great episode of More Than a Title. See you guys.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, bro. Cheers.
What you know about me? Seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? I've done it all, just want it all. Oh, what you know about me? I've seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know